filters and brand identities. If you're looking for help with your branding or website, please get in touch with them for a no obligation chat to see how they can help. And if you mention Wedding Mavericks, you'll receive a 10% discount on their services. Thank you, Divine, for sponsoring our podcast. Hello there, everyone. So, this is a little bit different, Jules.
Yeah, if it sounds a little bit different, and it's definitely going to look different, because I can already see that the camera's shaking. It's because we're in the car. So if there's noise, and if you hear the sat nav, that's what that's all about. We're on our way to our fourth wedding of the week.
Yes.
It's been a bit of a busy week, still the school holidays. We've tried to do stuff with the kids, and we've had 4 weddings in the last 7 days. And we're travelling to this one. We're going to need to stay nearby overnight because it's over a couple of hours away. So this is the only time really we could fit it in recording this week, wasn't it?
It was.
So we decided we'd just throw caution to the wind and record it in the car.
Give this a go.
Yeah, it's probably going to sound terrible, but hopefully we'll be back to the proper setup next week.
Yeah, but you never know. This might
take off.
Encourage us to think outside the box, because we've talked about the fact, haven't we, that maybe as we get further and further into the season, and hopefully the weeks where there's 4 in 1 week will be few and far between, but actually maybe we might find that we need to kind of do a few on the fly like this if we're wanting to be able to maintain that consistency of the weekly podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we hope you're all okay out there. If you have had the Easter holidays, the half term, like us, it's the second week, it's the last week of that, so kids will be back to school on Monday. But if you've been full throttle in weddings as well, we hope that they're going well for you. What we want to talk about today is customer service, but on a little bit more of a practical basis. And the reason that we want to do that is because really just to build on what we've been talking about in the last couple of episodes. And I know last week we focused quite heavily on CRM and the benefits of using one of those, and how that enables us to offer great customer service when it comes to our communications and dealing with our clients.
Yeah.
The reason that we've decided this week to do a further podcast now on customer service is because 2 of the weddings that we've had this week have
that was a sat nav.
There goes the sat nav. 2 of the weddings that we've been involved in this week involve people that we have worked with previously.
Yeah,
previous couples, yeah, people that they've come as a result of previous weddings that we've done and that we've been involved in. And we believe that we've had those opportunities because a big part of it, yes, to do with the final sort of product, if you like, the standard of the wedding film that we've previously produced for people, but we think a huge part of that has been down to the standard of customer service that we've provided for them, which we feel really proud of, really. And we just wanted to kind of share that with you, because I'm certain that there will be a number of you out there, photographers, videographers, who will be in a similar position with some of your clients. I'm sure that there are tons of you out there who have benefited from the fact that you've delivered a fantastic product to your couples previously, and as a result of that and the level of customer service that you've provided to them, either someone else that's closely connected to them, so another family member, a friend, they will have booked you to provide their wedding videography or photography, or maybe it's even both, as is the case in one of the examples that we're going to talk about. So maybe they booked you on the back of what they've seen that you're capable of previously. So quite fortunate really that those 2 have fallen in this week and kind of lend themselves quite nicely to what we're speaking about today.
Yeah, it was good timing, and I think the thing is, we've talked about last few episodes, obviously last episode was talking about customer service and how that ties into kind of giving that customer experience, how you're going to deliver that.
Yeah.
Whoa. Sorry. Literally saw someone nearly take another car out. So there's how kind of you're going to deliver that, but then there's also the fact that we talked about the ways in which you get clients, market to clients, and the way that you can acquire clients a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
And one of them, the biggest, the one that we talked about, which was the strongest one, which is the warmest lead, if you like, is the personal referral. You know, whether that's from another vendor or whether that's from a previous couple. And the thing about the previous couple is, yes, it's a very obvious thing. We all know that with any service or product, we all know that, you know, getting someone saying, use this person, whether it's a service provider or use this product, it's amazing. Yeah. We all know how strong that is. We all know that if someone recommends something to us, we're going to feel like that's a safer bet than not having that personal referral from someone that you trust.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like why talking about giving customer service is going to create that opportunity. Yeah. And it has 100% created the opportunities for 2 of our jobs this week.
Yeah.
Now, if we just put that in monetary terms, that's thousands of pounds. So thousands of pounds in 1 week came from giving previous good customer service. And you can't, you know, if you're looking at ways to build and sustain a successful business, you can't, you know, overlook the fact that giving that customer service is pretty much the strongest thing you've got. Yeah, because your wedding video or your wedding photos, they're going to be good. We've already talked about everybody's good at this point. You know, there are people that are better, you can always improve, but, you know, the standard of work isn't the thing that's going to differentiate you, you know, on its own. It's got to be joined by other things.
Yeah. And the two weddings that we're going to talk a bit about today, one of them was film only, and the first of the 2 of them, which was last Sunday, Easter Sunday, that was a film and photograph wedding for us, and that was the first one of this year that we've done. Now, that particular wedding I'm going to just briefly talk about first, because that was for the second son of a family who we've now been involved in 3 different weddings with that family and a photo shoot.
Yeah, family photo shoot.
Yeah. 3 weddings and a family photo shoot. It's
like the name of a film.
It's close to a film title, isn't it? So the first 2 weddings were film only, and this was the first one where we'd done film and photo for them. So they're a large family, this family of kind of 3 different generations, if you like. And
still
most
a daughter.
of the
still a daughter to get married.
There is, yeah. And the grandchildren are all kind of similar age, which was lovely. And at this wedding on Sunday, we saw them all kind of playing together. They're all kind of within the kind of 2 to sort of 4 age bracket, and it was lovely just watching them all play together. And we've really, really enjoyed getting to know this family over the years. I say over the years, and it is actually. So we started in 2017, so 5 years, and actually during our first year was the first wedding. That was our first involvement with that family, with the other son and his now wife. So I thought we'd talk about that one because that's we've done, I guess, a little bit more with that family. However, it's about sort of the relationship that we've built with that family, the members of that family, and how we've worked hard. So what I want to emphasise is that with both of these examples that we'll talk about, we take nothing for granted here. We've worked really hard at maintaining and being consistent with trying to offering, I should say, that's a safe bet, then that's another wedding coming our way in a couple of years. Absolutely not. And I would urge any of you that perhaps are benefiting from the opportunity to work with families or with kind of a close circle of friends on a repeat basis, please don't take for granted assuming that it's in the bag for you, and the next time one of them's going to get married that you'll be the person that they pick up the phone to, because we certainly don't.
You've got to treat each situation like, you know, we've talked about it previously. You're always auditioning.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't kind of, you know, have a day where you decide to be a bit of a knob, because that could really affect things. So no matter how you're feeling on the day, always try to keep up that, you know, good atmosphere, that good level of service to people.
Yeah, definitely. And then the second couple that we'll talk about then, it's again 2017. It's going back to 2017.
Yeah, I mean, both of these weddings were some of our first ones. They were in the first kind of 8, I think, weddings we ever did.
Yeah.
We obviously, you know, if you asked me to analyse how we did on those weddings, we were learning. There's no other way to put it. We were learning. 100%. It wasn't our best work.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot. It's a massive difference from where we are now.
Yeah.
You know, where we feel like we can be very consistent now, and you know that was, I'd say, you know, we were finding his feet, and it was a bit of an experimental kind of phase. So, yeah, all about kind of learning at that point.
Yeah.
But we were. I do feel like I said this on a previous episode. Also, it was easier to stand out then because there was less people doing this, and there was less people doing it the way that they're doing it now.
Yeah.
You know, so we kind of were doing something a little bit different that wasn't seen all over the place. It was a bit of a different vibe to a wedding film, and so that kind of made a difference. But then at least 50% of it is also the service and the relationship that we built up with both of these people.
Yeah.
And that one, you know, that one's an even better example of how one wedding can transform things.
Absolutely.
We'll come on to that shortly.
We will. So we'll go into a little bit more depth then about the kind of our experience and sort of the customer service, I guess, the experience for our clients in working with us, and how we've worked hard, as I said, to be able to kind of maintain a particular level of customer service for them. And then also towards the end we'll just touch on, I think it's worth at least just having a little brief conversation around, well, what does make good customer service then, or rather what makes excellent customer service, because actually it's really simple stuff.
Yeah.
And we are really talking about simple, straightforward things here. There's nothing that we will say in this podcast that you don't already have the knowledge of and the skills to be able to deliver yourself, but I think it's helpful sometimes just to perhaps say those things out loud, just to kind of, if we're not already switched on and kind of alert to how important those things are, just the simplest of things, then I think it's good just to, for all of us, just to kind of have a little bit of a reminder of the importance of not only what we're saying, but how we're carrying ourselves on the day as well.
Yeah, I think the thing is, when you're doing something that's creative, and when you're doing something that's technical, it's very easy to get caught up in the process of doing that, and the artistry of doing that. So it becomes about you, and it becomes about the thing you're going to make and the thing that you're doing. And in reality, the thing that's going to really matter is how you make the people feel that you're doing the thing for. Because at the end of the day, they're paying you to create something that's good, that they're going to like, they're going to enjoy seeing the photos, watching the videos, they're going to be proud of, and they're going to feel like you did a great job and your work is good, but they're also going to remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And how you made their guests, their family, their friends feel. And that's going to go a long way to deciding who to pick if your work and someone else's work is good.
Yeah.
And well, all right, who do I know and who do I trust?
Yeah.
Who do I feel comfortable with?
Yeah. So, nice little segue there into two words you just said, trust and who we're going to feel comfortable with. So, straight off the back of that, take us back to 2017, please, then, Jules. So, we'll start with Ellie and Ash.
Yep.
Tell us about their situation and how they came to get in touch with us.
Well, it was we were starting out. We didn't have a lot of work on, and so we were conveniently, I think it was in August.
Yeah.
And conveniently, we were not booked on this Saturday in August, which is kind of what happens when you will be booked on the Saturday in August when you've been doing this for a year or two. But because we just started that year, we weren't booked up and we were available, and somebody, and this is again this kind of the how this person found us comes down to word of mouth stuff. So people, because of we'd been using Facebook at the time, because Facebook was still quite a useful tool at the time, Instagram wasn't really being used that much by wedding photographers and videographers, and basically our name got brought up because somebody had been let down by their videographer and they were looking for someone last minute.
Yeah.
She didn't have a great budget. I think we ended up getting about £600-700 for that film. But we just started, and actually we were building a portfolio, so we needed this job as much as they needed us, for a little bit of experience, for a little bit of money, and for the portfolio.
Yeah.
And it's a good example of when we've talked about discounts and we've talked about dynamic pricing.
Yeah.
It's a good example. Both of these two examples that we're going to give you actually are exactly the same. They were both around that time, and they both didn't want to spend much money on it. They didn't have much money to spend, so we did them a good deal, but it paid in dividends for us.
Yeah.
So contacted by Facebook, are you available? I've been suggested by somebody, some random person on Facebook, somebody who's obviously seen something that we've done previously for somebody else, and they said, try these guys. Yeah, available. This is like literally a few days before the wedding. So I haven't really had the time to build up the relationship with this couple at all. And it just so happens they only live like 5 minutes drive from our house. So I just went round and saw them in person, and we sorted it all out that way, which was good. And at that point we had time to do stuff like that. Obviously, as you get further on in your business, it's not something we'd recommend. So did the wedding, and it was like Lindsay's already talked about. They were a really nice family, typical sort of Yorkshire family that are similar to us because we all live in the same sort of area. So there's lots of we can kind of we're on the same wavelength. But it was a really great wedding, as in they were nice people, but they were also really fun and outgoing, and there was a lot of a real big party atmosphere at that wedding. Video turned out pretty good, for the time of when we did it, and the experience that we had, and that basically they were really bowled over by it. And this is the thing that I would say, both of the weddings that we're going to talk about as examples were families that are getting married from people that we've already done weddings for, and so the families are all there. And at both weddings, all people kept doing was talking about, oh wow, that wedding film that you did, oh wow, and it wasn't just a case of like, oh, you did a great job. It was like they were really into it, and they were really, that you can tell that they feel really comfortable having us there because of that relationship that we've built up with both of these families.
That's right. And sorry, just to interrupt. So with that, the first with Ellie and Ashland, that first one, just very briefly, what would you say were the kind of skills, do you think, that you were able to kind of inject into that helped you to be able to build that relationship on the day? Because trust was massive to this couple, wasn't it? Because of what had happened.
Well, because they'd been let down by someone, so they were sceptical about. I think they'd been let down at the last minute, but they'd also lost their money.
Yeah.
So me going round there in person, that helped. And the thing is, when you say what are the things, it's very hard to quantify. Like we talked about in the last episode, saying one thing, but for me, it's about having really good communication skills, being very kind of frank, open, honest, but being professional at the same time. Speaking kind of in the way that's appropriate for them. So that's going to change depending who you're speaking to. So if I'm speaking to somebody who's local from Barnsley, I'm speaking like the way I speak with my mates. Yeah. If I'm speaking to somebody who is a stockbroker in London, I might be talking a little bit more, using a different type of language and trying to speak a little bit more proper. Yeah. So that's it's the communication skills, and then it's the empathy, and it's the understanding what people's worries, what people's needs are and wants, and what their expectations are, and trying to put yourself in their shoes, trying to think about what's important to them. Yeah. It's about listening and responding accordingly, not just going through with your agenda, but actually sort of thinking, well, what do I need to do to make them feel comfortable with me and with what I'm going to do? Because most people, and you'll find this, most people are not crazy about having a camera pointed at them, whether it's to take photos or make a film.
Yeah. Cool. So they were happy with both the products that had been produced, and as part of the kind of feedback for that wedding, it was that they were thrilled to bits with the service that had been provided. And then kind of the next thing on from there was that the second son had booked us to do his wedding, which was the one that we've just done on Easter Sunday, and that was back in 2018 for the wedding to occur in 2020. But not long after they booked us in 2018 then, Scott got in touch with us and asked us if we could do a family portrait shoot for them at our then, right in the beginnings of being renovated, studio. And I mention this just because up to that point, let's think about the fact that this family, their only insight into what we could do, albeit a great experience for them, was a wedding film. And they were asking us to do a family portrait for the parents' wedding anniversary. So they've no experience of us having provided any photographs for them. So, and I think it's important to mention, because they'd asked us to do that based purely on the service. Yeah.
Because they felt comfortable with us.
That's right.
At this point, we've not got an awful lot to show in terms of the photo stuff. Yeah. It was very early on doing the photography. Yeah. So they had to place some trust in us in relation to that, whether we were going to do a good job. Yeah. But like you say, because they felt comfortable with us, because they felt like they could trust us. Yeah. I'd say that's how we actually started the photography side of the business. Yeah. Because we didn't do a load of second shooting. We didn't do any, at this point, portfolio building workshops weren't a thing. Yeah. We just we just managed to get some photo jobs based on the fact that we could make a wedding film.
Yeah.
And we gave a good service.
Yeah.
People trusted us.
Yeah.
We said we could do it,
Yeah.
and they believed us.
Yeah.
Which is actually a bit crazy, but that just shows you how powerful
Yeah.
customer service and experience is.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think I can't. A number of times in my life I've been quite anxious and quite nervous about things, as have you. And I know that day caused a great deal of kind of anxiety for us, because here we are with this family. There's about a dozen of them all together. There's newborn babies in there, there's toddlers in there, and we're inviting them to this studio that's in the middle of being renovated. We happen to have one single white wall that we can do these photos against, but there's bits of tools, there's bits of wooden frames and all sorts all over the place. So I think we kind of ourselves, we had a little bit of a worry that, oh my goodness, how are they going to feel about this? Because, you know, with newborn babies, we could see that with the mums there, they themselves were, you know, they just naturally were concerned about the kind of their little ones, and where can I change them, where can I feed them. Never mind posing for photographs, but you know, somehow still,
Yeah.
I think maybe the comedy of the situation, you know, still that seems to have worked out as being a positive experience for them. And then if kind of moving forward, as I said, it should have been 2020 that we did Scott and Rachel's wedding, but we know what happened, and so theirs was postponed. But in terms, if I could just go across to Helena and Adam's wedding, which was the other wedding that we did this week, just tell us briefly how that one's come about then, and just remind us of the kind of link there to 2017.
Well, so again, one of the first weddings that we've ever done, and somehow, and I can't actually tell you how, but I got this phone. I remember I was going to the gym and I got this phone call from this guy, and I don't know if you're like me, you prefer to get an email inquiry, because when someone rings you, they really put you on the spot and you're not necessarily expecting it. And this is obviously the real start of our business, so I'm really not great at like answering the phone at this point for our own business. And I'm looking for a wedding videographer, and I just kind of like chatted with this guy. Again, we've not got loads and loads of experience, so this is why customer service was so important as well at this point, because you've not got this huge portfolio and you've not got all these testimonials from previous couples built up. That's basically, you know, there you go, you can see what I can do, because that doesn't exist yet. So that initial contact and the way that you speak to people and the kind of impression that you leave, that was key to getting these jobs. And then we go and do this wedding, and it was one of the, again, a very kind of low budget wedding. Not necessarily because they weren't spending a lot on their wedding, because I think they did. In fact, it was a good wedding to do, because there was stuff and there were nice people and it was a decent wedding. And we did something different again with the thing, but we also with the film, but we also delivered this service that made an impression. And off the back of that, I mean, I think the wedding film really did blow them away, because it wasn't something that they'd seen elsewhere. But also, I ended up being mates with this guy, and I've met up with him on more than one occasion to go around and have a coffee with him and stuff like that. And the upshot of that is, off the back of doing that wedding, that circle of friends and family from him, we've done, I would say, probably about a dozen weddings based off just solely that one film being either shown to guests and things like that, or guests that were at that wedding, and then it's kind of funneled out from there. And the one that we were doing the other day was his sister's wedding, and it was a very nice wedding.
Yeah.
And obviously we've gone and we all of this is built off the original service that we've given in 2017,
Yeah.
and over that period of 5 years it's cascaded into, you know, lots of weddings, lots of great opportunities in terms of like you know, building up portfolio, and tens of thousands of pounds in revenue.
Yeah.
None of which would have existed had we gone there and just done a decent job, but not done something extraordinary in terms of the service that we provided.
And I think on a couple of the ones that we've been able to, or we've had the opportunity to do on the back of that one, some have been film and photo,
Yeah.
haven't they? So not just the film, but again attributed to the experience that those couples had kind of witnessed at the weddings that they'd seen, and just kind of I think seeing what our approach was into sort of how we dealt with the couple, and the kind of approach, if you like, to coordinating people and dealing with people, I think, as well. And as we know, there's everybody has their own style, don't they? Their own sort of style to approach in different aspects of the wedding day. And so it's been really nice for us to kind of see that even though we might be providing just the film on one, again, like you said, you're always auditioning in a way, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's how you're communicating, not just with the couple, with the guests, and how you're portraying yourself throughout that day is really, really important, because I think I know there won't just be us out there that are now kind of doing this hybrid of photography and film on a wedding day, and there may be a number of you as well who are considering that as a possible move in the future, or maybe you've transitioned from one discipline to the other. But just knowing that there will be people there who are guests at weddings who are actively looking for a bit of something a bit different, can you actually provide more of an inclusive service for them? Now, I want to just go back to last Sunday, Easter Sunday, so the O'Callaghan family and their wedding, because there was something that was really funny that happened, and I'm still going to link it back to good customer service, believe it or not, and I'll know you'll know where I'm going with this, but kind of setting the scene first of all with the bride first and foremost. So Rachel, the bride there, Jules and I could see, she's a lovely girl, and at the moment that we arrived we could see how nervous she was.
Yeah.
And just kind of feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I think. Probably there'd been so much build up to this day. I mean, it's now occurring
4 years
yeah, so it's 2 years later than when it should have been, and we could see that she was nervous. She's like red patches on her chest and round her neck and things like that, and she said to us straight away, she was very welcoming. She just said, I just need to just go upstairs, just have a little bit of time by myself. I'll be fine though. And so immediately that's ringing alarm bells with us. That's letting us know that the last thing that she needs right now is for one of us to go upstairs and start pointing a camera in her direction. So we gave her a little bit of space. We like to, as well as prime lenses, I think we like to use, or I certainly like to use a zoom lens during prep, because it gives me more flexibility. And in scenarios, in situations where I've picked up on that right from the word go, I know that throughout that prep, the last thing I want to do is be unnerving her at any point. So I know that it's important for me to be able to try to think about the way that I'm going to work around her. In terms of getting the style of the shots that I like to be able to get, those up close, kind of when she's having her makeup done and hair and things like that, I know I still want to get those because I know how lovely they can look, but I know I don't want to be up in her face. So I'm already thinking about the equipment I've got. I'm thinking about how can I work around and still make sure that this person's really comfortable. Now, what was beneficial was that one of the bridesmaids happened to be Ellie from the first wedding from this family. So So she was introducing me to the other bridesmaids and things. I always make a conscious effort at bride prep, and I know you'll do the same when you're doing groom prep. Get to know people's names, because it's really nice then throughout the day if you can kind of refer to those people by their name. That all these little things like that go a long way in relationship building. So Ellie was quite familiar with us, and here's where the funny part comes in, because so much so did she feel comfortable with us that she went on to tell us about a wardrobe or an underwear malfunction that she'd just had, and she was in desperate need of some strong tape to be able to help her out so that she got into this dress. Now, it's only by luck that you said that you...
We carry the duct tape round because it's something that, you know, and here's something that's a bit off topic, but, you know, it's always worth carrying some duct tape round, because you never know when you got, like, you know, strap something together.
Yeah.
Right? But usually I'm thinking more like, you know, camera equipment, you know, something tripod breaks, you've got to tape it up or something, or you need to hold a battery onto something because something's broken.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to have duct tape with you because it's very useful. In this situation,
worth its weight in gold.
Lindsay's
Absolutely.
duct taping bras up.
You know, she could have very easily been quite embarrassed about this, but the fact that she kind of felt secure enough around us, so we're not just talking about the bride here and our considerations around making her feel comfortable in clearly quite a nerve-wracking kind of setup, but we're extending that further to people in the bridal party as well. And thankfully, because Elle knew us, she felt comfortable enough that she could kind of have that conversation, but not only that, but have a bloody good laugh about it with us as well, and wasn't afraid to show me exactly where the problem areas were, and anyway we got her sorted. And then other little things during bride prep that kind of, and you were away with the lads, so didn't necessarily see, but right towards the other end of it where Rachel was getting her dress on, Mum was in the room with her, and she was just struggling with a couple of the fastens at the back of the dress, that's all. But again, it was a scenario where the bride was starting to get a bit flustered, a little bit het up, and really worrying that we weren't going to be able to get this dress fastened. So she shouted me upstairs to help her, and obviously more than happy to help, but I think the thing that dawned on me was that I think it's all too easy for photographers, videographers sometimes, and you mentioned this near the beginning, to just slip right into that mindset of thinking, I've got a job to do here, I've got to get the shot. But the last thing that she would have wanted in that moment was for me to walk into the room, camera in hand, trying to get some shots while she's in the middle of panic. I can't get my dress fastened and my mum can't do it, and I'm starting to get a bit flustered with my mum as well. So the camera was down, helped them fasten the dress, you know, little bits to kind of snip off with the scissors and things like that. But in that moment, to know that I wasn't there doing my job, if you like, so the thing that I'm being paid to do, and to get the shots, and we're bearing in mind we're doing film and photo as well, I wasn't focused on that.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be that the kind of calm that they both needed in that moment, we needed to get the dress sorted, it was done. And for me, what I kind of hope and what I'd like to think that she'll remember about that moment is not either that she got so wound up and frustrated with her mum and was really panicky and then ended up running late because they couldn't get the dress fastened, not that pain in the ass photographer, videographer was trying to take pictures of me when they could see that it just wasn't the right moment. I hope that she'll take away the fact that she was able to get done what she needed to get done, be able to go back to a place where she wasn't wound up, she wasn't flustered, her red patches had disappeared, and then she was in a place where, right, now I'm ready, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Is what she said. Now I'm ready for the photographs. And so we were able to go to that, you know, mock fastening up the dress with Mum.
Yeah, and it's about being flexible, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about being flexible in the way that you think.
Yeah.
It's about being flexible in the way that you behave and act.
Yeah.
Because this is you have got a job to do, but this is a big deal for them.
Yeah.
And they might be paying you money to do something, and you need to make sure you do it, but there are other things that can be more important.
Definitely.
Like, the photos are going to look shit if they're not in a good place.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to think about the bigger picture.
Definitely. And throughout the day, one thing that Rachel kept saying to us was that she's just naturally so awkward in front of the camera. She doesn't like, posing or anything like that. So when we're hearing that, when we're getting that from a couple,
that means you're not going to try and pose them.
Yeah.
In the way that you might pose somebody who's who's constantly taking selfies on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know that the way you're going to approach the interaction with that couple is to be as laid back and relaxed and natural as possible. And obviously that is going to, you would hope that a couple who wants a photographer and a videographer that do a certain thing hire that type of photographer and videographer.
Yeah.
But it isn't always like that.
Yeah.
We've been in situations where we know that a couple have hired a photographer who's very posy, who's very intense, and they've done that probably because they want to look a certain way on their photos. But the reality of that experience on the day, they might be happy with the photos afterwards, but the reality of the situation on the day is they were not happy.
Yeah.
And we could tell they weren't happy.
Yeah.
So this stuff's important, because if you're thinking about customer service and you're thinking about referrals and building up, that personal connection so that they refer you to other people, and that other people see how you operate and think, oh, I like the way they did that, and their photos and videos were good, I'm gonna inquire with them, then it's important for that to be at the forefront of your mind and not just I'm getting my job done.
Yeah. And what did you say to me once you'd looked through the preview photographs? So because we'd picked up on that from Rachel, the direction we gave them was, okay, will you just naturally be yourselves?
I thought those photos were fantastic. Not blowing our own trumpet.
No.
I think we caught some genuine personality, which is basically what we're always trying to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen like that.
Yeah.
Some people just cannot show that personality, especially when they're being photographed.
Yeah.
A bit like Chandler on Friends type thing.
Yeah.
But these photos, I saw their relationship and I saw their personality, and I was like, job done.
Yeah. The way they looked at one another, the way they laughed, the way they naturally touched one another.
Yeah.
Just looks lovely.
Yeah.
And there's genuine kind of happiness. There's so much laughter in the photos of them, and it's just lovely, isn't it? And it's just it was, I think, picking up on that and understanding that you don't have to pose them within an inch of the life. You can, by sometimes telling a couple, just naturally, just be you, just talk between yourselves, and that was lovely. It was nice seeing them.
Now enter the round.
Okay, and so then just a little bit wider thinking then, in terms of that sort of particular wedding, we've talked a lot about the couple there, but other guests then, so they're family members. I recall Mum, at one point we were just getting set up for the bride and groom entering into the room, and Mum called me over, and it was just the general chat. It was, Lindsay, how are you doing? Naming our daughters, how's Beth, how's Amy, how did you go with the business, telling us about their family business experience during the pandemic as well, things like that. And you with the lads, and just saying to me on odd moments, or this best man speech, this is going to be funny because this lad, and it's having that knowledge, because you've taken the time to tune into not just the couple, but what's going on friends there.
Yeah.
You know, made sure that we were fed, checking in with us, are we okay, this, that and the other during the day. And just the way that everybody was, we've been treated like a set of friends there. And that's something that we've been really fortunate that's been fed back to us by other couples too, hasn't it, in reviews. And for me, that's the key there, right there.
If you look at our reviews, there are these themes in there, and you know, yes, there are compliments about the work, the standard of work, which obviously you want because that's kind of what people are hiring you to do. But there are, in nearly every review, there is a mention of how we made them feel comfortable, of how we kind of interacted with them, how they kind of feel like we're friends. And that might not be the way that you want to run your business. You might be more transactional. You might be more, well, I don't really care. Do you know what I mean? I'm just here to do my photos. And if that's the case, that's fair enough. But when you're trying to run a business that's a personal service that you're trying to hopefully get personal referrals from to grow it, you know, the extra, going the extra mile to kind of build those relationships up with people, you know, is important.
Yeah. I think the easiest way to kind of think of this is put yourself in the shoes of the person who is, you are either on the lookout, you are searching for a videographer or photographer for your wedding.
Yeah.
What do you want that person to be, or those people to be like?
Yeah. Who do you want to be there doing that?
Yeah.
And if you're behaving in a way that you wouldn't hire that person, that's not great.
Yeah.
And if you are behaving in a way where you'd be like, yeah, I would really like that person to capture my wedding, then you know that you're doing the right thing, and that's kind of the way to. And again, everyone's personalities are different, so everybody's into different things, aren't they?
Yeah.
But you know, and that's why there is someone that's going to fit your personality out there. There are people that are going to fit your personality out there. So be genuine to that. Don't try to be something that you're not.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just, as we get towards the end then, let's just spend a few minutes just thinking about what are some of the basics for us, Stu? What do we always strive to be able to do on a wedding day? You know, I'm by no means trying to insult anyone's intelligence here. Just like I said at the beginning, you know, these are all things these are skills that we've all got knowledge of. We've all got the ability to be able to do. That's why we're in a service industry. That's why we're working and we're building successful businesses, hopefully businesses that are sustainable. That's why we're doing this. So what are some of the basic kind of communication skills or personable skills then that, you know, are just musts for people on a wedding day?
We've already talked about it, but we've already talked about some of them, but I'll kind of mention them again. But I mean, like the kind of the friendliness, the politeness is kind of essential, because you know, if you're going to be rude, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's sort of remembering that we shoot weddings every single week, right? These people might not have ever been to a wedding before.
Yeah.
Some people don't even know what's supposed to happen at this different points, and so you've got to have the empathy to understand what their situation is, what they're feeling at that moment in time. You know, that they're not, their priority is not you getting some amazing shots. They might want some great photographs and a nice video at the end of the day. That's not their priority during the moments where you're capturing that stuff. So having that kind of empathy to think about how they will be feeling. And obviously it helps if you've got married yourself, because you can sort of understand how it feels to be on the other end of the camera.
I'm a big dress carrier.
Yeah.
Go on.
So so like just the general kind of like your demeanour, openness, friendliness, listening to kind of what they're saying and reacting to what they're saying.
Yes.
But then as well, observing, like what's going to be a struggle. So there's an example, and Lindsay is very much, you know, on a wedding day, you are so kind of there with, you know, helping tie things and put things on, and the thing is, it doesn't affect, none of this affects what we actually end up capturing. If anything, it helps it, because it makes them feel comfortable and at ease, and then when you do point the camera back at them, they're not stressing out. So what you're getting is good, rather than some frowny faces and some stressed out, you know, huffing and puffing type situations. So you love carrying the dresses and making sure it stays clean, because you know that they're worried about that.
Absolutely, and you know, I think on the one hand, I kind of think, you know, when it comes to the dress, first and foremost, I sort of think, and more brides are of this mindset, but it's inevitable, it's going to get dirty on the bottom of it, it's inevitable during the wedding day. But on your wedding day, when you've been up since 5 or 6 a.m, hair and makeup there, and you have spent hours getting ready, and you've gone to the expense of bringing people in that are going to do your hair and makeup, that are going to carefully put that veil in your hair for you, that are going to help you get into the dress. You've put hours into that because you want to look amazing, you want to look wonderful, but not just up to the point where you're going to walk down the aisle and that's it, you can let it all go then. You want to look beautiful for your whole day. And so when you're a photographer thinking, or a videographer, and you're thinking, you know, I'm going to take them off for a walk over this cornfield because it just looks phenomenal, it's going to look great, and I know that they know it's going to look great as well. Well, part of the bride is thinking, yeah, these are the shots that I want, but part of us thinking, oh my god, my dress is getting filthy, it's getting ripped to shreds underneath, I've got heels on that are sinking into the grass, I'm getting blown all over the place, I'm not going to look good. So I just think, and that is definitely not just a female intuition thing, because there are plenty of male photographers and videographers that we have worked with that I know and I can actively see on a wedding day are also conscious of that. So I'm certainly not saying only I will understand this. No, Jules is, you know, bigging me up there saying I'm in tune with these things on a wedding day, but you do it yourself. You know, you are consciously aware of these things yourself. So, you know, in addition to what Jules has said, if there are little things that you can help with, pick up the dress, hold their flowers for them for a few minutes, ask them if they want you to bring their drink, bring a coat even, if it's in some of the colder months, bring a coat or a cardigan or something the bride can just put over her shoulders in between walking to different spaces. Just these little things. And there was something that you said last night about being tuned into, being able to recognise kind of, you know, you're reading their body language, and you might be there to do a job in terms of getting those images, but what was it you also said that you are there to do for that couple on the day as well?
You're there to look after them and make sure that they have a good day and a good experience. Not just a good experience with you, but a good experience at their wedding. And that's it. If you always are thinking, rather than thinking, this couple are hiring me to do this job, if you're always thinking, this couple are here to have one of the best days of their life, and I want to make sure that happens. So if, like, you know, they don't want to go back out to do more photos, or, you know, they don't really want you filming this bit because they want a minute, but you're like, we said we were going to do this, you know, then react to that. As long as you check in with them and say, you said you wanted to do this, you know, would you like to do this? But do it in a way that's non-pressure. Do it in a way that's thinking about them and their experience of their day, and that will in turn lead to them having a great experience with you.
And I think this episode up now, you know, also think of it this way: of all the suppliers involved in a couple's wedding day, guess who they spend the most amount of time with on that wedding day out of all of their suppliers?
Yeah.
It's all of us. It's the photographers and videographers. And that is why it's so important that we represent ourselves in a professional way, but we also show them that we're down to earth. We can interact with other guests. We can adapt, like you've said, to different scenarios and situations. And we care. We really care. So,
we've got, basically, we're spending the most amount of time with them, so we've not only have we got the biggest opportunity to positively influence that, we've also got the biggest opportunity to mess it up and make them really upset.
That's a good point, yeah.
And that is not something that's, none of us are trying to do that. So we have to be thinking not just about that click or press record. It's how are they?
Your agenda cannot be, I'm going to get, these shots that I'm going to get at this venue with golden hour. Look at that dress, look at this couple, this wedding. If you've got that preconceived agenda, then I think you've more chance, just like you've just said, Jules, more chance there if you are fixed on that it's going to start to become an unpleasant experience for them, but also for you. The last thing that you want to be doing is starting to get flustered or frustrated yourself on a wedding day, and doing it because you've spat the dummy out because it's not going the way that you wanted it. That's not what it's about, you know. Like I said at the beginning, there was no hidden gems here, no secret formula here to kind of share with you in this episode, but
it is a good reminder.
Oh, definitely.
It's a good reminder, and if you're very new to this, it's a good reminder. Well, not a good reminder, but a good thing to understand, because when you first start out, you are going to be very focused on getting the technicals and the creative side right. It is a lot easier once you've been doing it for a while for that stuff to be kind of automatic and just happens, and you can then spend and focus more on the experience and the relationship building. But when you're first starting out and you're concentrating on all that stuff, just remember there are people in front of your camera, and they are real people with real, feelings and stuff's going on, and like most people, like I said, don't really like having a camera pointed out.
And I think it's just just been luck that, I guess these two weddings have fallen this week, where for me, and like I say, I would never take for granted what we do for a living here, but also that it's just naturally going to be, it's going to be a dead easy wedding day, because we're nice people and we always try to really help people out. You can't think of it that way, because you just never know what's going to kind of crop up or occur. But on the back of these two weddings happening this week, for me even, it was just a nice reminder of
shaky.
Too sick by the motion of the recording, but we do hope that in some way that's been useful this week. And as I've said, we'd love to hear your comments and to hear what things you might inject into your wedding day to help with your customer service. You can reach out to us or DM us on Instagram or Facebook at Wedding Mavericks if you'd like to leave any comments. If you'd like to visit us at the website or watch us on YouTube at the Wedding Mavericks, and please also follow or subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to them. Thank you once more to Divine for sponsoring our podcast. We'll see you in the next one.
See you guys.